This video was made possible by EA Game Changers. Hello everybody, this is going to be a little bit of a different video on my channel. This is my first ever full pack review for The Sims 4. You asked for it, so here it is. I know there's probably thousands out there by now, but I really wanted to give my overall thoughts on the new expansion pack, the Journey to Batuu, Star Wars with The Sims. I was so excited for this pack. As you probably saw, if you didn't, there is a trailer reaction out there. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I wouldn't say I'm a massive kind of knowledge base for the lore and stuff. I enjoy the Star Wars aesthetic. I'm an aesthetic whore. I really am. And I thought mixing one of my two favorite things together, or two of my favorite things together, Star Wars and The Sims, what could go wrong? Oh, what could go wrong? We're going to go through categorically. Starting, obviously, we're going to start with Cass. Then we're going to move on to the world overview. The actual world of Batuu, which isn't in the Star Wars lore, by the way. It is kind of based off the Disney theme park, which really disappointed me when I heard that. But I still went through the world and kind of looked at everything, and the aesthetics were great. We'll go a bit more into depth on that in a minute. Then obviously we've got what we're going to start with Cass. We'll go on to the build and buy actually next after Cass. Then we'll do the world overview. And then lastly, we'll do the gameplay overview as well. I played around 4 or 5 hours of the gameplay. That was enough. That was definitely enough for me. Yeah, I got all I needed to out of that 5 hours of gameplay to make my decision on whether or not I was enjoying it or not. And yeah, you'll see the conclusion in a second, my dears. You really will. But yeah, I know that this pack's kind of a hot topic for the Sims community at the minute. Lots of people didn't want this. I get that completely. Not everybody's a Star Wars fan out there. I, for one, was one of the people that was excited for it because I thought, wow, this would be really cool. I'm excited. I cannot wait to delve into this. Yeah, I think without further ado, let's get into the cast side of things first. So when I first went into Cass and I saw the quite big array of clothing, this was a pack kind of heavy on the clothing. It needed to be really to kind of match up with the other kind of Star Wars-esque clothing we have got in the game. They kind of went for a different style for this one, a lot less kind of kitsch like the other pieces we've like gotten in the past, like the Darth Vader outfit, etc., etc. They kind of went for this really lovely aesthetic with it. There's layering, minimalist, dystopian looking aesthetic, and I really loved it. The aesthetics of the clothing were just A+ from me. The color palettes, the neutral earth tones, which is a big thing through this pack. The neutral earth tones kind of seep into the build and buy objects as well, which I am a massive fan of too. And the overall execution of the clothing, the layering, I love. The Sims team are nailing all of their kind of recent Cass items. They really are. The meshes on them are stunning. The textures, the color palettes are absolutely beautiful. I love it. I thought it was really, really lovely. Really, really lovely. Those were the good points about the Cass. There are a few bad points. Didn't enjoy the alpha textures on some of the helmets, like you're probably seeing on the screen now. I saw a few other Simmers mention this, so I thought I need to check this out for myself. And yeah, I really don't like the way that some of them look. They look really bad. Like the textures are seeping on the edges and stuff. It looks a bit weird. I also found I was quite limited with the hairstyle choices. I would have thought that we would have had a few more hairstyle choices, especially for the male Sims, because there was, what, 2? And one of them is a kind of unisex sort of updo anyway. So I found the limited hairstyles a little bit lacking, but I still enjoyed them. They were executed really, really gorgeously. There was no new makeup. It's quite Yeah, I was quite baffled by that. This is not including the face paint. There's a few face paints that I'm probably showing on the screen now. That, they're good. They're good for storyline purposes, but where can you use them out of the Star Wars game? You can't really. Not really, anyway. And one thing that really bothered me with this pack as well is once I had my sim all dressed and I was waiting to try and go to Batuu, it was hot weather outside, and my sim was getting hot, like overheating in the outfits when quite a few of the Star Wars worlds are on a hot climate planet. So it didn't really make sense to me that my sim was kind of getting too hot in these outfits that are supposed to cater for being in hot weather. Don't understand what that bit was about. Yeah, but so overall, the cast for me was one of the high points. I thought the styling was gorgeous. I really, really did. I absolutely loved the styling, and I loved the color palettes for it. So the cast to me is, yeah, it's a plus point. And some people think it's going to be limited to a Star Wars kind of look. I think creative people out there could make this look make some of the objects look very kind of like now and fresh and up to date. And I really like that. I really do. Okay. Moving on to the build and buy. I'm going to start with the good points, and then we'll end with the bad points. The first good points is, again, with the color palette. The color palette and aesthetic of this pack. I love the kind of apocalyptic, dystopian look to some of the objects that can be used in quite a few building styles. Not all building styles. You're definitely not going to get a kind of variation of different styles with this pack. It needs to fit in with the Star Wars world, and that's what they went for. One of the best things that I saw in this pack was the modular bar that we got, a curved bar with these modular pieces and this gorgeous kind of like bar backdrop. That I could see being in like industrial looking bars and stuff. Like you could mix it up quite a bit. You really could. Now the textures in this pack were just, they were gorgeous. I loved looking through the textures to some of these build items. I thought that they executed this perfectly, and it fit into the pack overall with everything else, including cast and stuff. I thought they nailed that. They really, really did. And one of the other plus points from the build mode was the lights. The lighting were gorgeous. And also the flooring and the wallpapers. They were probably some of the plus points from this that I really enjoyed. Really, really enjoyed from this pack. You're probably seeing me go over a few on the screen now. I loved them. Really, really did. Especially some of the stone floorings. They were gorgeous. I can't wait to utilize them into some of my builds. I really can't. Now, into the bad parts about the build and buy. First off, this glitching large door that it just kept glitching through the wall that I had it on in tab mode and also out of tab mode. So I don't know if there's a bug going on with that huge door, and I'm not going to be utilizing that door much at all. Neither any of the other doors or windows, because they are very themed. We're not going to be able to use them on many builds. I can see them being on like Fallout bunkers and I don't know, a superhero's like layer, like that kind of thing. I think would be quite limited to use these windows and doors on anything other than something that is heavily themed, which might prove a bit difficult for people out there. Next thing is the boxes. The boxes and the crates and the boxes on boxes and the crates with the crates on top of the crates and the boxes. There were so many of the same object that I think they were all in all, I don't think I'm being right with the number here, but there was around 8 separate objects that were just literally stacked boxes that are just literally backdrop decoration, which as much as I love clutter, I would prefer clutter to be smaller, being able to use it in houses, pop it onto shelves. Being able to put clutter onto shelves, Sims team, we need that big time because it's just not happening. It's not happening. But I just think they could have like just done 3 or 4 different styles of these. Maybe with the swatches, their boxes would have changed around in different orientations or something, rather than having all of these objects. Considering we can't really build on the world of Batuu, which we will get to very, very soon. No new beds or kitchen counters. So we're supposed to kind of make a home in Willow Creek or wherever it was in the trailer and have it Star Wars themed, and then not have any kitchen counters or beds or beds as well. I don't understand that. We could have had at least like one bed, and we could have had some kitchen counters. Again, they probably fought against this because it was very themed. Kitchen counters you want to be able to use in a lot of the different houses that you are building. So you'd probably be quite limited with that. But I thought the style in which the bars were done could have been utilized maybe and being made into a kitchen counter or something. I kind of thought along those lines. So many world building objects, but no lots to build them on. I really struggled with this. There were so many objects, and not just in debug, just in the normal build and buy catalog. And yet we don't get an option really to build on Batuu. We can go into the enable free build and build that way, but I found that very limiting in itself as well, because you're kind of building inside these already pre-existing shells that they give you. So you're kind of limited on what you can do freely. And if you did get rid of those shells and build something in the world of Batuu, could you make it look similar to the surrounding landscapes? Because most of the buildings are circular. We don't have curved walls. We probably find that to be quite limiting. I'm going to give it a go. Definitely going to give it a go to build on one of these lots. But I would have thought at least 1 or 2 building lots per district you could have gave us, just so we could have like utilized it better ourselves and built upon it the way that we wanted to, rather than what already exists in the game. Stormtrooper clutter. The stormtrooper clutter. There was so much stormtrooper I can't even say it. There was so much There was so much stormtrooper clutter, kind of crates with pistols and guns. And again, there was like variations of the same object over 4 or 5 times. Might be getting a bit... No, I think it would have been about 4 or 5 times these crates with guns inside them. Again, we don't really get to build the worlds, so why utilize and have that in a pack? That could have been in debug somewhere that we could have just got out ourselves, rather than being an object that we can't really use, because we're not going to be building... Well, you could build a house for stormtroopers in Willow Creek with a tree house or something. But I found that a little bit limiting. Thought that was weird. But overall, the build and buy objects for me aesthetically are gorgeous. The Sims team are getting kind of the creation of these objects that they're making now, like to a tease. Like some of them are beautiful, some of them are absolutely gorgeous to look at. I did enjoy it, but I just think that these limitations just made me question why have so many gorgeous objects when really we can't really get to use them the way in which we want to, which is broadly around all of the worlds, or even being able to build on Batuu, you know? So that was that one for me. That was the build and buy for me. So on to the world overview. So what I thought of the world. Again, the aesthetics were great. It looked great. When I first got there, I was like, oh, that's very nice. Even though when I was looking at the map itself, the map just looks, to me, I don't know if it's just to me, and I have my settings on ultra, but the map just looks very blurry. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the pixels are not right on it or something, but the map world just looks blurry to me, and I don't understand why. I have put a photo of that up. You've probably just seen it. But to me, it just looked a little bit strange. Wasn't enjoying that. And then I got down into one of the districts, and there are kind of 3 areas of the world of Batuu. You kind of land in, it's called Black Spire Outpost, which is the kind of main sort of like, you couldn't really call it a city, village area of Batuu, or the main hub of Batuu. You're probably seeing it on the screen now. Looks great. Looks lovely. 90% of this is shells and places that you can't even reach. It's a very small area indeed to try and kind of get as much gameplay as you possibly could. I struggled, and it was mainly because there was hardly anything to interact with going around the lots itself. There was like 5, I think there's like 5 separate places where you can kind of click on and sort of go into, including like a canteen area, which is one of the main bar areas or the main bar area of Batuu. That was really cool. Loved the aesthetic of it, loved how it looked. But I still found it quite limiting. I did still found it quite limiting indeed. There was an area where you could go up to kind of eat, like called a docking bay. I'm just looking through it now, just so if you hear clicking on my mouse and stuff, just so I can remind myself. You can go up and order food from the docking bay, but again, this is a rabbit hole. The same with the shop, which is called Shop Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities, which is a place where you can get like sort of your lightsabers and everything you would need for your lightsabers, including data spikes. Data spikes are these kind of objects that you put into all of these control panels throughout the world, and you can kind of obtain like information and hack into stuff, but we'll go a bit more over that in towards the gameplay. And then you can go off into the kind of other areas, one of them being the Resistance encampment, which is a really lovely looking place. It really is. It's a gorgeous looking place. It's got a gorgeous waterfall, and it's got an X-wing and everything there. This is where all the good guys are. Now, one annoying thing with the Resistance encampment that I found was the fact that every time you leave that area and you go off to wherever you're going and come back, you then have to like walk this big long walk all the way back to where the majority of the Resistance are and where everything else is. It was just annoying. And then there was these two like weird like looped pathways around this area that literally had nothing in them at all from what I could find anyway. And what was the point of having that whole area kind of like open and not have anything in there to make your sim kind of, I don't know, even if he had to go or they had to go away and scan objects, in which is another point of the gameplay. There was nothing there. And that really bothered me. Really, really bothered me. And then the last area was the First Order district. So this is where you'll find Kylo Ren with all of his stormtroopers and whatnot. And again, it's very similar. It looks very similar to the Black Spire outpost, but quite limiting on, again, size. Most of the area around it you can't interact with, and the ones that you can interact with, some of them again are rabbit holes. I'm so bored of seeing rabbit holes in The Sims 4. I don't know about you guys. When it was in The Sims 3 and when it was in like The Sims Medieval, there just seemed to be personality with those rabbit holes. There was, I don't know, the lore came through. Whereas with these rabbit holes, I just didn't find that. I didn't get excited. There was caves to explore in the Resistance camp area. There was no multiple choice questions from them, and I went in there about 6 or 7 times. It was just literally a linear story where your sim would then come out and they would either be covered in slime from something. Again, seeing all of the same kind of animations that The Sims 4 keep throwing into every pack and kind to try and pass off as something new when it's not. It's the same thing that's happened in another pack before. So yeah, I found the main thing I found with this world is that it was very small. It was very small. You could live here if you wanted to. There are tents that your sim can sleep in. There's places your sim can go and get food and get food. And obviously with the missions and stuff, your sim does get credits in which they can spend that on whatever they want, food, i.e. drinks. So your sim could live on Batuu, but you wouldn't be able to really live in a house. You'd have to go and sleep in one of the tents that are in the camps and stuff. But if that's what you want to get in for your like storyline, then go ahead and do it. It's that you could easily live on Batuu, but I don't know why anybody would want to be honest. Some of the good things about the world that I really found was the sound design. The sound design for Batuu is beautiful. Absolutely amazing. It kind of immerses you in the world a little bit because the gameplay is so lacking for me. I found myself, I don't know, getting immersed through sound and visuals. Loved looking at everything. The world didn't seem as alive as what it did in the trailers. They never do. They always hype it up that way. But the sound design was amazing. And I really liked the cutout style of the playable lots, like the bar or the canteen or whatever it's called. There was a kind of a cutout style to it. And the same sort of things with the Resistance headquarters and the same with the First Order like headquarters as well. They kind of, I don't know, they had this like really nice cutout design where the kind of the assets would fade away and then it would go piece by piece. I really loved that. I thought that was great. I really would love to see more of that. I would love to see More of that instead of rabbit holes, like just interactions inside. If I saw my sim going in to get some food and then you actually saw inside and he was going up and ordering and like going into the marketplace and you could see him talking to the shopkeeper, I would love that. That would immerse me so much more into the game. It really, really would. But again, we didn't really get to see that very much. Onto the gameplay. So, as I said, I played around about 5 hours. Played around about 5 hours of the game. That was enough for me. That was enough for me. I got bored very, very fast. Very, very fast. I think I'll start off with some of the good things that I got from the gameplay. Really enjoyed the lightsaber animations. That was one of the hot things I really wanted to see in The Sims. And I loved them. I thought they were really great. I played it as much as I possibly could, and I noticed that there was a kind of repetitive sort of animation with the lightsaber. I get that. It was probably quite a task for these people to get all of these animations together. But I really liked them. I thought they were really good. Now, I enjoyed, there was lots of questing where you would go to a place that you'd have to get a code for something and try and sort of distract the guards with things. So I found in my personal experience, it was easy to kind of go quite far away, call one of the guards over. As soon as they come, like, so as soon as they start walking over, just walk past them and go and try and do whatever you were trying to do in the First Order district to be able to get past the guards, etc. And I liked that kind of sneaky aspect of it. That was quite fun. Found it a little bit too easy. That was the only problem with that myself. And another good point with this, and I think it's because of the actual size of the worlds themselves, they're not very big, was the loading screen times. The loading screen times were very short. My PC is kind of like high, sort of like mid-range, and I had really fast loading screen times, but there's hardly any world there for it to load, so that is probably why. And the bad things about the gameplay. Ooh, where do we start? Where do we start? I got so bored so fast. So I did round about 6 or 7 missions. One of them being one of the kind of main missions that you have to do. I went with the Resistance. I wanted to see kind of the good gameplay aspect of this. You were kind of trying to sort of infiltrate the First Order district and gain access codes into their kind of like headquarter areas where you would need to go and buy these data spike things, or you would be given them if you completed a task or a mission correctly. That would be one of your rewards. These data spikes, they don't always work, so you need to be careful on how many you've actually got in your inventory. And what they do, you can like access into like panels, and there are panels around the world everywhere. You need to keep your eyes open because they are kind of like hidden away here and there. And there was one kind of main mission that I did where I needed to go to the First Order district and try and gain access into their headquarters so I could steal some blueprints, I think it was, for a blaster, like a laser blaster. And I needed a droid for this mission. So I had to make sure I had enough credits to be able to build this droid. I loved this aspect of it. This was good. But that's where it stopped. I kind of built the droid. I actually called mine Debbie because I am that bitch. Debbie had to then distract the guards so I could get to the panel and make sure that I could like infiltrate and steal this like blueprint. And yeah, it was okay. It was okay, but then it just felt like that each time. I then had another mission where I needed to go and put a data spike into another control panel to stop communications towers. And it was literally the same kind of gameplay, but with just different text written on both of them. But all in all, you're just doing the same thing. You're going up, putting a data spike in, waiting for it to come, trying to hide away from the guards. It got boring very, very fast. After 3 or 4 missions of that kind of, I was just like, I'm kind of done here now. And then the other missions were just like, I think I had one where I had to go and collect food and then go around the Resistance passing out food. And all I had to do was go into the food place. I can't remember what it was called. A rabbit hole, come out with the food in my inventory, go back to the Resistance and then give out the food. It's boring. It's boring. I really didn't enjoy that kind of thing. I really didn't. I was kind of done with it. After that. I would like to try a little bit more. I don't think I've gave a fair assessment in the fact that I've only played it for 5 hours. I'd like to give it another 5 and maybe go about it a different way. But I want to give my fair estimate on the kind of Resistance gameplay. And then maybe I'll do a bit more gameplay with the First Order, kind of like, and see if there's any difference between them. I can't imagine there will be. I would still give it a go. I would definitely still give it a go. There was one really great difference that I saw, and it's with the character Ray. I'll probably play a little bit of her voice line here.
Dag. Tibber one a flu. Kelka froops to Ibsy. Krupa to bead. Restubish and blipper shoe. To force a kajoji. In wiffish stube. A stube at all.
And I saw this on Twitter as well. Really nice to hear a British accent in the, well, an American doing a British accent, I think, because it sounds a bit, it doesn't, to me, being British, I recognize accents very well. This one just seems a little bit forced to me. I really liked hearing it. I really did. I would like to see some more of that, some more difference with that kind of thing, because I think that would allow a sim to have more depth and personality. If you could hear different accents, French accents, Russian, Chinese, if you could hear that dialect in the Simlish, it would bring so much more to the game. It really would, rather than your kind of American accent that you hear on every single sim. I thought that was really, really cool. Loved that. Loved. But yes, so I think we've got to the end of what I've thought about this pack. I've actually done like a markup system at the end as well, where I kind of like went over aesthetics and depth and things like that to kind of get results of each category. And I've kind of marked them out of 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, obviously. With Cass, I've gave Cass a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 because I really enjoyed the overall aesthetic of it, and I enjoyed how much there was as well. There was lots of stuff, even for kids, not too much for kids. Unsure about toddlers. I didn't check toddlers, but overall the cast for me was one of the best I've seen in a very long time. The aesthetic of it was just gorgeous, and I was absolutely here for it. Really was. Okay, so build and buy, I've gave a 3 out of 5, mainly because I knocked a couple of points off, because you're going to be quite limited on how you use and utilize these items. They're very themed. You'd have to do an apocalyptic, dystopian, Star Wars, futuristic kind of build, but you're very limited at where you can actually use them in the worlds that we've got. I'm going to try my hardest to use them in maybe like Oasis Springs. I think they would fit in really well there. And also Strangerville, but I think you'd be very limited if you don't have those packs. Again, Granite Falls, you could build an old spaceship that crashed or something. You need to get in depth into your head and your creativity to be able to think, oh, actually, I can utilize this for this. But it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And that's why I've kind of marked it down a little bit lower than what I wanted to, because I loved the overall aesthetics and execution of the actual build and buy. But you're very limited. The world. So the world I've actually gave a 2 out of 5. I would have given it lower, but I know how much hard work has gone into these packs to make them look the way they do. But that's the thing. It looks pretty. There's just not much to do. And I would rather have more to do. More to do over aesthetics any day. Yeah, so that is why I've gave the world a 2 out of 5. Now, the gameplay. So the gameplay was the one thing that lacked the most out of everything for me. And it was kind of on par with the world, but a little bit less. I've gave a 1.5 out of 5. I really got bored. I got bored with the point and click and the rabbit holes and there was just no depth for me. I want to see more, and I am going to play more. That score might change, but from the 5 hours that I played it and I got bored after about 3, maybe even 2, that doesn't fill me with much hope. It really, really doesn't. I think my overall overview of this pack is it worth you buying it? Are you a Star Wars fan? Because if you like Star Wars and you're into the aesthetics of Star Wars, not the lore, not the depth of everything that Star Wars gets into, if you just like the overall aesthetic of it, yeah, it's a great pack for you. Especially if you like to build in The Sims, and especially if you want to utilize some of your like Star Wars builds and stuff, then it would be great for you. But personally, for me, if I wasn't an EA game changer, would I buy this pack? No, No, I definitely wouldn't. And I'm a Star Wars fan, but after seeing reviews and then also reviewing it for myself, I know to make the decision that this pack was just not for me. And yes, I think that is where we're going to leave it for today. Let me know what you guys think. Have you got the pack? What did you think of the gameplay? So yeah, verdict is pretty to look at, not much to do. And that is where we're going to go with it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you now. Let's have a nice discussion down in the comments below. Remember to keep it nice. These devs work so hard on stuff like this, and it almost pains me to give things a negative review, but I will always be truthful to you guys. Let's be kind. Don't call out names. Like, if you hate the pack, then say it, but don't be an asshole. You know, don't, you know. Nice discussion in the comments. I'm going to be back tomorrow with Let's Build the Worlds. We're in Strangerville, my loves. I'm very excited. And I'm also going to be streaming on Twitch tonight. I'm renovating some of my older builds at 7 p.m. BST. So if you want to come along, then I'll see you there. But if not, I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.